usually just sit here and watch Connor dance and.
Say I can't hear it, so I'm just gonna.
Oh, you can't.
What that music
you can't hear the
sounds
music? I'm sorry. I thought you could hear it. Okay.
I can hear when you talk.
Okay, gotcha.
Gotcha.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Break your glasses. Jamming out.
He does. Yeah.
We didn't really make those that helmet with headphones in mind.
No, you didn't. But I appreciate the challenge. Oh,
Hey
yeah.
everybody, welcome to the
Let's
G
do
Variety
this.
Hour. This is episode 64. My name is Sean. I'm the old guy of the group. I'm the old dad, and the guy right above me on the screen is. That would be you.
What's up, guys? My name is Connor, aka QuillMiester, aka the Husky Viking. This episode, at least.
And the guy to his, I guess, would be his right is our special guest tonight. And who is our special guest tonight? That would be.
It is I.
Yes,
Dennis,
there you go.
The world's most okayest DM. I didn't know if I was supposed to intro myself or not.
I
don't know what's going on. I'm so kerfuffled over the movie you made me watch that I don't even know what's going on.
Look,
I think we're all kerfuffled from that
But
cinematic
hey,
nonsense.
thanks for having me on so I could watch it.
What you're watching now is the extent of our pre-production planning. Once we start recording, then we just kind of go with it. That's just kind of the way we are. So,
Oh, yeah.
Anyway,
More than art.
Dennis, Dennis and I, we've been friends for several years. We met at Dragon Con. He is the Dungeon Master for the Botch podcast, and I've been going to his live shows. We've gotten to be really good friends, and so he offered to come on tonight so we could kind of just hang out. And I also want to talk about an exciting thing that he's got going on. And so we usually start, most of the people that come in and hang out and watch with us, that we usually start with kind of what's going on. So I want to say, Dennis, I'm going to save your stuff to last. And I always start with Connor, let him just kind of ramble a bit, and then we kind of just work our way around and see what's going on with everybody.
All right. So the biggest and most unfortunate news of today, this morning as I'm on my way to work, as soon as I walked out the door, I took a big tumble down our complex stairs. Yeah.
So now
it was not good.
Was there a soundtrack?
So-
Did we have a soundtrack at all? Do we have any kind of Chevy Chase kind of music going on or anything like that?
If something was playing at 5:15 in the morning, I guess there would be. Our neighbor across the way has this big dog, and this big dog likes to bring home these big branches. These are not kindling branches. These are full on logs for the fire. And so this morning it's Friday. I'm tired. I'm dragging my feet. I dragged my feet right into one of these full on logs. It then kind of caught the of the stairs. I then tripped over my own foot. Full on rolled down the stairs, spilling my breakfast protein shake all over me.
Nice.
And then hobbled back up the stairs and then just plopped down in my recliner because I could not work in a factory standing on that messed up ankle and working with a tweaked up wrist all day.
I need to get you.
It
I need to
could
get
not
you
have been
like
happened.
one of those Ring doorbells with a camera so we can record those because that would have been quality video. You
That
rolling down
would
the
have been
stairs,
quality video.
feet
It
flying
really
in the
would
air,
have.
shakes
Since-
flying in the air. So yeah, that would have been interesting.
Is AFV still a thing? America's Funniest Home Videos? Is that still a thing?
I think
Yeah,
so.
it is still a thing. I forget who the host is. It's
Oh wait, isn't it the guy who played Will Smith's brother on Fresh Prince? Isn't that the guy?
yes.
Carlton.
Yes. I know I knew he was, but I couldn't remember if he still was or not. So anyway.
I love that dance. I love that dude. That's the next show. I'm gonna binge now. I've also been recently binging Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I've loved this show ever since I first saw it, but since we got rid of cable over a decade ago, I've only been able to see little bits and clips of it up until like season 6. So season 7 and up, I had never seen before. So it was like me watching it for the very first time.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I loved every second of it.
So tell us about this hat you're wearing this evening.
Oh, this hat. This is my Viking helm, which actually it was a gift from Dennis and the Botch team a couple years ago at Dragon Con when me and my dad saw one of their one shots,
Yeah.
and so it was after they were done, and after the panel was done, they were giving out swag, and they were offering this helmet. So I basically ran up there and was like, me, and then one of the guys, I remember, he was like, okay, and then just like put a hand out, and he gingerly handed it to me like he was afraid for his life.
So see, that's the difference between me and you. You went up and grabbing the hat. I went up and grabbing the beer that they had on the table.
Beer,
So,
yeah.
That was
gonna say.
I don't like beer. I've tried beer, but I just cannot get into it.
This year, so they were only gonna bring like 6 or 12, and I was like, dudes, we need like a lot more beer to hand out at the beginning. And we burned through it in like 30 seconds because they were just like, all right, at the beginning, everybody just come up and get one. Boop, 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 boop. And we ran through it. And then they're giving away the craft beer that they brought for them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, that's fine. You're just going to be out of booze. I got my can of Twisted Tea over here. I'm not giving that away to anybody.
And I think
for Mike's Hard Lemonade, actually. I love that stuff.
I think
Mike's
Bean
good too.
I think Bean ended up with half a case of the stuff that I brought. That's still in the Airbnb where y'all were.
Well, I was going to say, you know why it's in Bean's possession, because he was locked out of his apartment until literally the last day of the con, so nobody else could get it. He also got Kurt's gifted Trulies that he gave for the party.
Yeah,
because they got stuck in there too, because we didn't have enough arms to carry all that home. So,
nice.
So yeah, he went home with a lot of alcohol.
Some good microbrew from Georgia. So, Connor, anything else going on with you?
Recently, me and my fiance Nix have been working on more of our wedding plans. You know, we recently locked down a venue, and we're trying to lock down our officiant right now, and then also the other day, she her mom and then my mom were all kind of collabing on her wedding dress.
Yeah. Cool.
So are you thinking like a church setting or outdoor setting? What are you thinking?
Outdoor setting.
Outdoor setting. Nice.
Oh yeah. My fiance is actually Wiccan. And
that's cool.
And she loves just being in nature for events like that, you know?
Sure.
And so we found this beautiful place that's actually literally a 1-minute drive or a 5-minute walk from our apartment complex.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. And then in the back, it's got a small creek. It's got this giant willow tree. It's got this like little forest setting right behind it. It is absolutely stunning.
You might
That'd be great for pictures.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it really will.
You might want to think about saving up to have some outside heaters, since you guys are planning on getting married in October in Ohio next year. So could be a little
That
cold.
is true.
I don't know. It's been pretty. It's usually fairly warm. Rain more than anything.
Yeah.
It always rains.
Yeah, that's true.
In October, but
Right.
It can't beat when I went to a New Year's Eve wedding at nighttime.
Oh God.
Oh yeah. Oh,
And
where,
the bride
where though?
refused. Oh, it was in Pennsylvania.
Oh
So
good God.
it was next to a pond, and we all had metal chairs. It sucked a lot. Because
I
they had
can
to have
imagine.
spotlights, because it was at night.
Yeah.
And to have space heaters for the audience. And the bride said none of the bridesmaids are allowed to wear coats. So they were just standing there like this the whole time. while she
Please
had,
tell me
like, this-
someone got stuck to one of their chairs. That would have been hilarious.
Unfortunately not. I went as like a last second guest that my friend needed somebody to go with. And secretly, none of them wanted the wedding to happen. So I was like, if you guys want, I will 100% stand up and make a fuss and just be like, I object. I'm carrying that man's baby or something. I don't know. And they were like, you shut up, Dennis. You shut up right now.
I almost
No.
man.
That would have been great.
I almost did
That would've
something
been good.
similar for a friend of mine's graduation. Me and her as they were handing out diplomas, we had this plan earlier, or that as she got her diploma, I would say kind of like this. Hey, wait! And she would stop on stage and be like, "No, I worked hard for this, and I'm gonna work it," and snap her fingers and just sashay off the stage. But before the ceremony, the principal said not to do anything like that, or we would not get our diplomas.
Well,
would have been
that's
funny
fair-
though.
that's
Would have
fair
been
enough.
funny, but sadly, I wanted to graduate and get out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
At ours, too.
I haven't got a lot that ever goes on because I live kind of a boring life. So I did just get back from Seattle for work, but
he is
other than
boring.
that, yeah, I'm the boring guy.
So what are you talking about? You're flying around all the time.
I am flying around,
Every
but
picture
it's
I see
just
from you
it's
is like
just
flying around.
it's just kind of work though. It's just like, hey, I'm going to doing fun stuff, but yeah, you know, I mean, I get to go to Savannah and Seattle, and I get paid to do it, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So
You're
anyway,
skim milk. I'm Yoo-hoo.
okay. So anyway, so that's kind of all I've been doing lately. And then in my typical Destiny grinding that I always do. I do have some kind of cool stuff that's coming out soon, but we'll talk about that next time because I want to save our time for Dennis for what he's got going on because what he's got going on is pretty cool. So Dennis, tell us what's going on with you these days.
Oh yeah.
Nothing. I don't know.
Tell us a story.
I don't know. Nothing comes to mind anyway.
Really?
No. So Sunday actually, I have a Kickstarter for my first graphic novel.
Woo!
I'm pretty sure I sent Sean the preview of the book, like the first 18 pages. But okay. I can't remember what I do anymore because literally my brain is moosh. It's just gone. It's gone. There's nothing left. So Sunday morning, not like 8:58 a.m. is when the Kickstarter ends. It's fully funded. So, but I think we're less than $250 away from the next stretch goal, which is a free hat for everybody who bought the T-shirt level and up. So, fingers crossed we get that because I think it's a pretty cool hat myself.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. I want.
I may get into that because as always, I love hats. I do love a good hat.
So.
But yeah, so that's what I've been doing for the last. This month has flown by.
Right.
Because literally the Kickstarter launched while at DragonCon, so I was in the middle of a vacation, also doing DragonCon, also launched the Kickstarter, doing that whole thing, and then get home, work for 1 week, and then go back on vacation. And literally the day I'm about to drive to Kentucky, so a 9-hour drive. And I have it all planned out where I'm going to leave at a certain time so I get there by dinner. 5 minutes before I'm about to leave, I get a message from a bunch of people that say like, hey, congrats on, making your funding goal or whatever. I'm like, crap, now I got to make a video and all these posts and stuff. So I ended up leaving like an hour or two like later than I wanted to. And by that time, he was just like, nah, no dinner for you. You get nothing. So I was like, all right. But it was still cool.
No dinner for you.
Yeah, and then it's been a weird experience for me because everything I've ever read and heard about Kickstarter is that all of your money comes up front and then nothing happens for like 3.5 weeks, and then everything else comes on the last like day or two.
Right.
For me, that's not been the case. It was everything happened up front.
Yep.
And then nothing for a week and a half. And then I went through every single human being on my Facebook page and messaged them individually and then made a whole bunch more money from bugging people.
Right.
And then it got quiet and we're a little bit more than a day away.
Yeah.
It's been fairly quiet, just a little bit here and there, just, 15, 20, $50 here, boop, 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 boop.
Right.
Like not a whole lot coming in right now. So,
Yeah.
but it's been interesting.
Yeah. But
Think about it this way. The smallest, yappiest dogs get the most attention.
It's true. So what you're saying is I wasn't being annoying enough.
Exactly.
I'll try harder next time.
Yeah.
I can do it. I believe in myself to be that.
Next
annoying.
time, you gotta send them gifs. You gotta send them memes, some messed up jokes,
There you
and just be like, hey, what you doing?
So
hi.
on bot, I'm not allowed to do the social media. So I'm exhausted from having to make 3 or more social media posts a day.
Yep.
I have a newfound hatred for social media that I did not have before. And I'll be really glad to never post again in 2 days' time.
Right. Yeah, you should
Just be glad you're not on TikTok. That's a lot of upkeep.
If you need somebody to be, just hire Phil to be your PR person for the next round and let him be all the annoying stuff, right? So
I feel like he won't.
I love being annoying.
He'll be a hype man.
Yeah,
but
there you
he's
go.
got too much stuff going on himself
yeah, that's true.
to be posting that much.
So listen, because I was there with you at DragonCon when the thing kicked off, and we had talked about it before it even kicked off, and frequently you had talked about this has been a 10-year dream of mine. So tell me how we went from 10 years ago to it's coming out soon. So how did that happen?
So to go back even further than that, so I've always been enamored with werewolves or any sort of story where there's like something lurking beneath kind of thing. That's why I always like the Incredible Hulk or Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, any of that kind of stuff. But what got me into that in the first place, when I was in elementary school, the library on the inside of the school, they used to just throw you in there for like an hour and be like, just go read books, whatever, leave us alone, just go read books. And I found this purple book with gold lettering, and it was literally just a picture book of the original Wolfman, like the Larry Talbot Wolfman. And I'd never seen anything with a werewolf before, and I was fascinated by it. I don't even remember if I read the book. I just looked at the pictures. I was like, this is the most awesome thing I've ever seen. And so it's always been sort of stuck in my brain, the werewolf thing.
Yeah.
And then about 2009, the idea just hit me where I was just like, you know what? I kind of want to make a comic book or a graphic novel about, the world's first werewolf. But like going through different historical periods. So like it kind of explains a little bit of the history, but also touches on all different mythologies, because I love Greek mythology and other folklores and stuff like that.
Same here.
Yeah.
So I was like, I started sketching stuff out, and I know there's somewhere in this house, there are some rolled up yellow notepad pieces of paper that I wrote up at Disney World in 2009 because I didn't want to go to the water park. But I don't remember where they are exactly. I have a good idea, but they're up there somewhere. And then I just shelved it for a long time because I just didn't think it was like going to be a realistic possibility.
Yeah.
And then there was like a few years later, I think it was like 5-ish years later, my one uncle was encouraging me to get back into it, and that lasted for like a week or two, where I again just wrote out some stuff, and that was it. But then in 2017, first Dragon Con, because we started up Botched in 2016, got invited to Dragon Con 2017, started hanging out with a bunch of fellow nerds and podcasters, and I don't even remember how it came up, but I just started talking with somebody about it, and they were like, you should totally do that. And then I started talking to somebody else about it, and they were like, yeah, you should totally do that. And the more people I told about it, the more everyone just kept saying, yeah, this is something you should do.
Right.
So I wrote it like a weird abomination between a book and a comic book.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't work as either, but
right.
we did. I used the same premise that we did for Botched, which was, this is not the final product that's going to go out, because we recorded the first episodes of Botched. That's not what you guys get on the podcatcher.
Right.
There's a different set of 2 episodes where we just experimented.
Right.
And like we gave that to people, and we're like, hey, we get that the quality sucks because we used like a Omni mic or something.
Yeah.
But just let us know if the content's good, and if it is, then we'll buy stuff and go crazy with it.
Right. Right.
And so same thing, gave the book to different people, and then every person would give me feedback like, oh, expand on this character or touch on this some more, and blah, 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 and just kept building and building and building and building. And so it went through like 20 different iterations. And then I tried to get an editor who worked in the field on it, and he was just like, nothing about this book, is even worth my time. But if you'd like, you can pay me $1,800 and I'll show you how to write an actual story. To which I was like, no. But then Shannon Tucker, I'm pretty sure you know Shannon, right? Sean, she's always hanging around with the Botched crew at Dragon Con.
Yeah.
She has all the connections in comics for some reason. I don't know how, I don't know why, but she just knows everybody.
Yeah.
So she set me up with this guy who, he read it, and he works in comics too, and he was like, okay, I get what that guy was saying, but you don't know what you're doing. So you literally have no idea how to do any of this stuff. So you can't really be at fault for not putting together a right script because you don't know what you're doing.
Right.
So he sat down, he taught me how to write a script, how dialogue should work, how, captions should be laid out, all this stuff. And then again, went through the editing process some more, and then boom, here we go. 5 years later, 4 years later, it's rolling out.
That's cool. That is so cool.
That is really cool.
So, because, you and Connor have a lot in common, because Connor he's aspiring to be a writer, and he loves mythology, and I mean, since he was
always loved mythology.
Since he was a kid.
My biggest fascination with mythology has always been wanting to try and figure out the origins of the myths. Figure out what someone saw at that time that they couldn't explain, that they could only think of as this is some kind of giant flying lizard. It's a horse with a horn. It's a giant man with a single eye. And through that, I've learned some fascinating things. Fun fact. The
Fun fact.
Oh yeah.
Chicken.
Oh yeah.
I know you probably can't hear the chicken sound effect, but anytime Connor says "fun fact," we start chasing chickens.
The origin of the Cyclops came from ancient Greek sailors finding the skull of an elephant. Because as you know, no elephants have those big trunks, and with their skull, there's a giant hole in the middle of their skull. You know, it's a giant hole right here in the middle, and so they thought, it's similar to our skulls, except we have two holes. But this one only has one, so maybe it's some kind of creature that has one giant eye.
Right.
But actually, that is the space where the muscles and the tendons of the trunk actually meet with the skull.
Right.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And then also, one more thing. There's this creature in Arthurian lore known as the questing beast. It's described as being able to gallop like a horse, have the neck of a snake, but be spotted like a badger. And so I was just thinking about it. Okay, it can run like a horse. It's got a long neck, and it has spots. What does that sound like?
Sounds like a giraffe.
Yeah. Exactly. So somehow someone in England saw a giraffe in Africa, and the only way they could explain it is basically this galloping snake monster. And just finding out these things is fascinating to me, you know, because then it makes you think, what did someone see that made them think of basically a man who could shoot lightning from his hand, a creature who could paralyze someone with a single glance, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what's always driven my need for this kind of research.
You know, and these are the kind of conversations that Connor and I have had not that we've had, that I've listened to since Connor was like 6 years old or 5 years old. Okay. It's just with him. So.
Oh yeah.
So you just wrote this. Did you do the animation stuff too, or did you have somebody come in to do all that stuff?
So I didn't do any of the art because I am not that good at art, even though I did go to art school for a little bit. But the problem I always have with art, in terms of like things that are in my head, is that it never looks the way that it is in my head, and it drives me insane.
Right.
So I relied on other artists. So I actually found all my artists through a Facebook group. One of the artists for Botched, Cloverkin, her partner Gabbo, set me up with this Facebook group called Pairing Writers with Artists.
Yeah.
And you have to put out a legit ad where it's like, you are paying money. It can't be anything like fishy, or they will just delete your ad and all that stuff.
Right.
And people will send in their work. And I said I was looking for a cross between, there's a book called Love the Lion. Love the art style and Love the Lion. I found it in a local library, actually.
Right.
Where I was looking for inspiration for what I wanted the book to look like. And I saw the colors in it, and I was like, I want that. And then this other book called Hillbilly, where it's like very stylized, but it's very dark and grungy. So I was like, I want to marry these two styles together somehow.
Right.
And so I put that out there, and the art team that I, was lucky enough to put together, I feel like they've nailed it on the head, what I was looking for. And then even working with them, you give them reference photos, you get to tweak things, that type of thing, till you get it to right where you want it. And once you get it to that point, then everything else is pretty smooth, where you don't usually need to make a whole lot of fixes.
Right. I've never. The thing that I'm most excited about this is I get to start reading a comic from the very beginning, because I grew up and I wasn't into comics. My friends weren't into comics. It wasn't that I didn't like them. It just, we didn't have a comic store near us when I was growing up. And so as I've gotten older and I've gotten around more of my friends that are into comics and the superheroes and this kind of stuff, I've wanted to get into them. And Connor and I were big Deadpool fans when Deadpool started getting kind of big, and
you're a big Deadpool fan,
and so
I'm still a huge Gambit fan.
I talked to a friend of mine. I know that you talked to them, the Divided by Werewolves guys, Mitch and Brandon.
Yep.
And Mitch is huge. Well, both of them are into comics, but Mitch is, he's like my resource for everything comics. He used to work in a comic store. And I remember asking him, I'm like, okay, I just want to kind of start at the beginning with Deadpool and kind of get the story from the beginning. He's like, well, which universe? What do you mean? Well, which issue? I just want the first one. Well, there's different storylines. So I'm like, okay, that's too confusing for me. So I'm actually looking forward to actually start a comic from the very beginning and not
so
which
indie
universe
stuff. Sounds like it'd be more up your alley because there are no like separate universes. It's like every one of the indie stories is like its own self-contained, type of thing.
Yeah, that sounds more like
Not to say that they don't get crazy and weird and all that stuff, because most
Right.
of the comics that I read are like super out there and they're getting a little hard to follow, even though there aren't separate universes. But whatever.
So what's been the most challenging part about this whole process?
The most challenging part of the whole process has probably just been the managing part. So, like,
Really?
my first editor and I, we used to have a lot of arguments. I mean, literally from before the script even got put together. Because, like, so for instance, we were arguing about how many pages should the book be, because 60 was too many for the first time Kickstarter. It should be smaller than that, so we don't, charge as much. Because it's a first-time Kickstarter, so it's harder to recoup costs, that type of thing. So he was like, okay, so we're going to take the 60, and he was saying, take that 60 and make it 24. And I was like, okay, we can't take 60 and make it 24. There's no way to do it. He's like, we can totally do it. Everybody will still love it, blah, 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 all this stuff. I literally made him make an outline where it said page by page, like a one-sentence description, what happens on the page.
Yeah.
He had characters appearing and dying on sometimes the same page. I'm like, no one's going to give a hot crap about any of these characters because they're just like, here, gone, here, gone, here, gone.
Right.
Or,
Yeah.
And so I then put together an outline, and he was like, I don't know if that's going to work. It's too much, gobbledygook running around, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So then I just wrote the script and was like, hey, well, if this doesn't work, we'll go with your idea. And he read it. He was like, okay, it works a lot better because now we have characters who have arcs. But I didn't take 60 and make it 24. I took 60 and split it into 2, made 30. Then I tried to make 30 24, but I couldn't make 30 24. I made 30 26. So then we were arguing over the page numbers again, because it can't be 24. It has to be, or it can't be 26. It has to be 24. And then we were literally on the phone with like a batch of books counting pages at one another. So, like, there was that, and then there was an argument over which page should the surprise be on. Should it be when you flip the page, it's on the left side, so it hits you right in the face? Or should it be on the right side of the page, so then you want to get to there? My argument was, I want it to be on the left side, so when they open the page, boom, surprise.
Yeah.
His argument is, no book does that. It should be on the right side, so that way people want to read to get there. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense to me. So we argued about that.
Yeah.
And it was just a lot of like creative differences, and then there were some financial issues as well. So then we just parted ways, and I got a different set of editors. Stephanie Crognola, which Gabbo, who I mentioned before, he ended up being the art editor. So it's worked out really well, I think.
Yeah.
So I would just say that the managing part
That's good.
probably been the most difficult.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I firmly fall on the left page side as well. That makes more sense to me. Okay. For a regular, like a novel, and you're like reading and it's building from one page to the next, that's fine. But for a nicely done,
Hello there. Easy now, Seabiscuit.
What are you guys talking about?
So we're just seeing things, but for a comic where it's visual,
like Sean was, I
would want that to be right there as soon as you open the page. So I completely agree with you on that. So,
same here.
I'm not a good interviewer. So, is there anything else that you want to talk about like in Solomon's Odyssey that I didn't think to ask you about, or Connor hasn't rambled on about?
I mean, the only other thing I'll say, so it's the story of the world's first werewolf, and the current plan is 15 books. So 15 60-page books. So it's going to be a fairly long series.
Yeah.
Hopefully
That's
I
awesome.
don't die before it's done, kind of thing. But the current idea that I have is 3 arcs of like 5 books. So the first arc is 5 books, and the second 5, and so on and so forth. Now, whether or not I add more books to it, but in the meantime, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so like
I actually do have a question if you have the time.
Sure. Yeah.
So this series is about the world's first werewolf, correct?
Yep.
is it purely from a metaphysical standpoint of like a physical change, or it's coming from a scientific point of view of this person having like some kind of physical disorder that makes him look like a werewolf, and that kind of turns into a psychological trigger that makes him act more like a wolf.
So in this instance, it's going to be more of the metaphysical,
Yeah.
where he's actually physically changing, that sort of thing. And the first
Okay.
arc, he doesn't have any control over it or anything like that. So it's like a quest or an odyssey to try and understand, what's going on with him, and
Yeah.
then how can he get rid of it, or
Right.
that type of thing.
Yeah.
And he goes through
I like
different
it.
cultures and societies. So like the first two books deal mostly with Saudi Arabian mythology and folklore, and then I
Oh.
obviously add some stuff of my own in there in terms of
Yeah.
like, and then the third book, Sumeria, Mesopotamia. So Gilgamesh
Nice.
is in that book. Him and Solomon are good buddies, and then the fourth book is all about ancient Egypt. So as you were saying, so to sort of touch on your point where you were saying like people see one thing and think it's another. So what does the god of death look like in Egyptian mythology?
Anubis looks like a man with a dog's head, with a jackal's head.
There you go.
So coincidentally, every time this humanoid shaped guy with a wolf head runs around, people die. So people start thinking, oh, that's just Anubis running around. So they don't.
I like it.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
Until he
really,
runs into the actual Anubis.
that,
Oh wait, what?
but that is so. That
until-
is. Yeah. That is so cool.
Okay,
Dennis.
now you got me hooked.
Yeah.
And then
I
the
gotta
book-
find out this stuff.
In the fifth book, with the last one in the arc, I call it sort of like the Greek Avengers, where he goes to Troy, and then he goes to Greece, and he meets up with Heracles, Daedalus, Orpheus, a bunch of other ones as they go to like Tartarus to like try and do this thing. I
Yeah.
don't want to get into too
Yeah.
many
No.
details, but
Right.
so that's like the first arc essentially, and then the second arc get into more Asian. Arthurian is one of the books I plan to.
Oh, nice.
Open up more religious stuff and death and things like that. Genghis Khan, that type of thing. And then the third arc of books is more closer to modern history. So by the time the last book hits, we'll be in the maybe near distant future.
Mhm.
So
Huh.
That's
Did
super
you by
cool.
chance touch a touch on with the Roman myth of Romulus and Remus, and their wolf mother?
So he's not in. So the hardest thing I had to figure out for the story stuff was figuring out where he would be and when to sort of go on a timeline where he could interact with things that I found to be super interesting. So the problem ended up being,
Gotcha.
in order for him to go from point A to point B in terms of the story,
Mhm.
I can't go all the places I'd love him to go. Maybe if
Mhm.
I do like single issue stuff where it's like side stories, like in the middle of hundreds of years of travel,
Yeah.
maybe then I could touch on Rome, or I could touch on. Isn't there's a Saint Christopher or something like that? There's literally a Christian
Saint
saint
Christopher, yeah.
who's supposed to be the first werewolf as well. So
Oh,
like
yeah.
that's another thing we could touch on. I would love to do. I could do a whole ton of stuff on Japanese mythology and folklore.
Oh,
but
yeah.
unfortunately, that one's just not gonna line up for my timeline. So I
Yeah.
couldn't
Right.
put I went with more Buddhism, China, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I
Wukong,
understand.
Yeah.
the dragon god, and all that stuff. All kinds of It gets real crazy down the line.
That's super fascinating, man. And
Oh,
see,
yeah, dude.
And I didn't know that it was. I didn't know about any of that stuff. I just knew, hey, it's about the big, the world's first werewolf, and it's kind of that stuff. And I'm, when I'm thinking that, I'm thinking, okay, Victorian era or Arthurian back. I'm not thinking about any of this other stuff. So this is, yeah, I'm
8,000
super
BC,
excited
and then
now.
we go.
I'm super excited
So
about
it's-
this. Yeah.
Dang.
It's definitely. I mean, it's hard to avoid all tropes. Obviously,
Right.
you're going to have some stuff. I would say this first book has a very Faustian feel to it almost,
Right.
which we've obviously seen a little bit, but I try and change things up and make things interesting. But this book literally just sets up all the other books, so then it kind of goes off and really builds the world. And we delve into magic and mysticism and, you know, all kinds of different stuff as well. So,
Yeah.
while also touching on actual historical things that happen as well.
Right.
So,
So okay,
I
so
I
if
can't wait
anybody,
to.
go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Connor. You got another question? Go ahead.
I can't wait to read about how he tying the classic myth of werewolves being vulnerable to silver. I can't wait to read how you tied that in. That's going to be something cool.
yeah, so that I do 100% plan to have that be a thing and have that be a big plot device as well. And I do plan. So somebody was asking me the other day, you know, what type of werewolf is this? Is it like Larry Talbot Wolfman, or is it like the Underworld Wolfman, or is it like the Twilight Breaking Dawn werewolves, where it's just a big wolf? And I
Yeah,
said that I actually
Twilight.
plan on having all the different types of werewolves in this universe at some point or
Ooh.
another, where it's a spectrum. On your left spectrum, you have Larry Talbot, who's mostly a dude with some wolf features, and that, or
Right.
Jack Nicholson's wolf, even if you want to even go
Mm-hmm.
further left.
Mm-hmm.
Or on the far right, you have the Twilight Breaking Dawn, where it's just a wolf, or True Blood, where it's literally just a wolf. They just turn into a wolf.
Mm-hmm.
As you get towards the middle, where it's like this perfect in between, that's where they get more powerful.
Wow.
So he can't spread lycanthropy, and there's a reason for that. But the other lycanthropies that crop up, those are more of a disease, so they can be spread from person to person.
Okay.
So I touch on all that stuff, and vampires and all kinds of other stuff too. You know, I love monster stuff, so I touch on
Same
a lot of
here.
Yeah.
I love everything monster.
So if anybody wants to jump in on this in these last couple of days, or follow it even after if they get in after, so how can they find all the information they need to jump in on the Kickstarter?
Sure. So you can either go on Kickstarter and search for Lycan, as in lycanthrope,
Mm-hmm.
Solomon's Odyssey. You can do it that way, or I made it easy for you. You can just go to www.hiveheadstudios.com. That'll redirect you there. I also got lycanbook.com. You can go there. He Who Is Steve bought the domain for clockfox.net because that's what he wanted the book to be called. So he doubled down and bought the domain for that. I think Phil got tiny.cc/gloryhowl because that's what he wanted it to be called. And then Kurt bought, I think, so literally everybody had all these different ideas for what they wanted it to be called. So they just doubled down and bought the domain, and they all redirect to the same place. They all go back to the Kickstarter.
So wait. I just need to clarify one thing I heard.
Sure.
I'm sure I know.
Glory Howl?
Mm-hmm.
Glory Howl?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
it
it was supposed to be a play on Glory Hole. Yep.
Yeah,
Phil.
I got that. I got that.
Yeah. Would
You know Phil. That
yeah.
makes sense.
I mean, it's just think about it. This deep psychological series about the world's first werewolf and just him living with this, and it's called Glory Howl. Well, you just picture some kind of horrid thing in a truck stop, and it's just like, what the heck?
It's just a barrel with a hole in it, and then a wolf eye on the inside. That's all it is. But the Kickstarter, so I think I said it before, wraps up Sunday morning. So if you don't get in by Sunday morning, unfortunately, the Kickstarter will be closed. At some point, I will probably when the book comes out, I'll then put up a website where you can buy the stuff. But you can also go to patreon.com/hiveheadstudios, where I haven't made any posts in a little while because I've been a little busy with the Kickstarter. But once it's done, I plan to do more stuff with it where, there's a Discord. You also can see behind the scenes stuff in terms of art. So like the script for the second book is done. Steph and I have already done that one. So right now we're just waiting for the artist to have free time to be able to start working on that again. So basically, as the pages start getting created, I'll take panels and put them up on the Patreon so you can see what stuff looks like before, anything happens.
Yeah.
And then I do a podcast as well where I talk about behind the scenes stuff. Charles McFall comes on every now and again and asks me questions that I can't think of. So yeah,
that's cool.
When everything is said and done, the books are out, Kickstarter is done. How how can one buy one of these things? Is it gonna be purely digital? Is it gonna be a way to get physical copies?
Yeah. So the plan is once the Kickstarter ends, I'm gonna get all the Kickstarter stuff together in terms of extras and whatnot, put it together in the book, and then send that over, and then get back into communication with the publisher, or not the publisher, the printer, and then they'll print out the copies. Now I set the delivery date at February just to be safe in case there's
Of
delays.
course.
Right.
I've been told that's a good idea, but in all likelihood, it could also get here earlier. So once that happens, it goes out. I'm buying more copies than I need to fulfill the Kickstarter, so I'll just have extra copies. So I'll sell them at conventions, but also I'll basically build a store on the website where you can buy the digital version if you want to buy that. If you want to buy the physical version, you can buy it on there, and I'll ship it to you. Stuff like that.
Cool.
How much will they be if you've planned that far ahead?
Sure. So the physical copy of the book is $15, so the same as it is on Kickstarter. The digital version of the book will be $5. I do plan. It's one of the stretch goals, but I doubt we'll get there in a day. But oops.
Oh, there you are.
Lost
You
you for a
back?
second there.
Yep.
Yeah, everything went for a second. That was weird. So I'll probably print like 100 hardcover books as well, so that way,
Ooh.
like $18.
Yeah. Wow.
I may really like that one. I love the feel of good hardcover book in my hand.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
So, and then the book is 60 pages long, but then there'll be like a couple extra pages for Kickstarter stuff, and then I plan to have 10 pages of like behind the scenes art, so like the character sketches and stuff like that.
That's cool. I love seeing stuff like that. The creation of it.
Yeah.
It just brings a whole new depth to it.
All right.
Yep. So that is the plan.
Yeah. Okay. So.
Well, put me down for one hardcover copy then.
Okay.
Well, you know where to
I'll
find
bring
it.
them to Dragon Con. So.
Yeah. So,
if I'm able to come.
We'll
I'm all the way up in Ohio now.
Yeah, but it's right before your wedding, so that's got Dragon Con's supposed to be your bachelor party.
Yeah.
So we got to get you down here sometime.
Yeah, hopefully.
That's right.
Yeah. So, well, I was
October 15th of next year. Mark it on your calendars.
Fully supporting the Kickstarter before Dragon Con was over, so I can't wait for this thing to be out. So,
thanks.
So keep us posted. Once the Kickstarter's over and the production stuff's going, man, keep us posted. Let us know how things are going.
Oh yeah,
because I'm looking forward to.
No, I plan to. So with Kickstarter, anybody who backs, anytime I post an update, everybody who backs it sees it. So I plan to post regular updates at least once a week. With what's going on.
Yeah.
And all that jazz too. But you also have me in like 18 different Discords, so you can always find
right. All right. So how about we actually kind of do the podcast stuff now, Connor? What do you think? You think we should do it now? Okay. All right.
Oh yeah, I think we should go on with our regular scheduled programming now.
There you go.
Are we talking about that movie?
Not yet.
Not yet.
I was gonna say, all right, see you guys. Bye.
No.
So we always start with
next up. We're gonna be doing something else, something that's
Geek
more
Question.
fun. Unlike that monstrosity.
I want to ask you a bunch of questions. And I want to have them answered immediately.
Are you going to say it, Connor?
I want to ask you a bunch of questions now, and I want them answered immediately.
What does he do?
Okay, so Connor...
I will continue repeating that line until I perfect my Schwarzenegger impression.
So, what's the question?
He hates it for some reason. I don't know why.
What's the question, Arnold?
Our question this week is... if you could create your own celebrity D&D group as the DM, who would be in it? What would they play, and why would you choose them?
Okay, I always go. I'm not going to go last. I usually go last because it takes me a while to think of answers. But Connor, you always go first. I'm going to let you go first, and then I'll figure something out, and then we'll let Dennis chime in at the end. So who's in your party, Connor?
All right, so first, this is cliche, because of what I've been watching lately, but I must have Jim Parsons in my group. I must have Sheldon in my group. I gotta.
Okay.
And most likely I'm gonna have him play a lawful neutral elf wizard. Just because he'll be like Spock, who just he'll do what's needed for the greater good and not be upset by it,
Yeah.
I can see that,
Yeah.
Let's see. Next, I kind of want Robert Downey Jr. Because the guy has such range, he can play almost anything,
Yeah.
And for some reason, I see him as a human bard, because as you know, billion playboy philanthropist.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like he would fit that very well with a multi-class and artificer.
Okay. All right.
Oh, yeah.
And what else? Who else?
Let's see. Next up, I would want have you guys ever seen The Guild?
Yeah. You talking about Felicia Day?
The girl with the long red hair. I can't remember her name.
Felicia Day.
Felicia Day.
Felicia Day. That's it.
Felicia Day.
But I would love to have her in my party just because that is her, and everything I've ever seen her in, she is a nerd, and I just really appreciate that. She's true to herself no matter what role she plays.
Yeah.
And I just feel like it'd be fun to hang out with her. She's one of those people who's like she's bubbly and just can make everyone smile with just her being there.
Yeah. Okay. So
and
are we going with 3 or 4?
And I'm gonna have 4 people in my group.
Okay. All right.
And then let's see. I would have her play most likely a goblin ranger. I don't know why, but I can just picture her having fun as this chaotic little goblin who fires arrows at people.
Okay.
I can just picture that.
Okay.
Let's see. And then finally, oh man. I want Dave Bautista.
Dave Bautista? It's not
Okay.
bad.
All right.
I want Drax on my team playing as Drax. A giant orc fighter who's multi-classed in monk and basically just fights with his fists.
Okay.
I want that. And also Dave Bautista is just a fun guy to be around. He's he's charming. He's lovable. He's basically me, but with muscles that could break iron. Who just put a wrench right here, flex, and it's just bent.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
That would be my celebrity party right there.
So that's your celebrity party.
It's a
Okay.
good party.
Oh, yeah.
So I would, and Connor does this to me all the time. All the time he does this because he'll send out to me. He'll say, "Okay, this is our geek question for the week." I'm like, "Cool." I'm thinking to try to come up with an answer to this question, and then when he asks the question on the podcast, he adds a second part to it that he didn't tell me about. So then I got to wing it.
Good thing I went last because I just wrote down all the other stuff.
So a lot of times
because I like keeping you guys on your toes.
Yeah, apparently
That's fair.
So probably the first guy that I thought of was Seth Green. Probably have Seth Green on there and be like a gnome trickster. Probably have him
I
play
could
gnome
see
trickster.
that. I love Seth Green.
Probably Katie Sackhoff with like her Starbuck vibe as like a rogue. Maybe a drow rogue. Starbuck from Battlestar Galactica.
I thought Katie Sackhoff was 709, or am I thinking of someone else?
That's Jerry Ryan. That's 709.
Yeah.
Jerry Ryan. Okay.
Yeah. Katie Sackhoff is if you've seen Battlestar Galactica, she played Starbuck in the new
I've never seen Battlestar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So, and then I kind of thought about maybe Rainn Wilson as
from The Office.
Okay.
But as a wizard, but a wizard that doesn't really have good skill but thinks he does in typical, his,
White fashion.
there you go, typical Dwight fashion. So probably him. And I'm trying to think of somebody else that I know actually plays that would be fun.
What about that big buff guy? You showed me that video of who actually has a like D&D dungeon in their basement.
Yeah,
I already have him on my list.
yeah. I know who he's talking about. So no, not him because
Okay.
God, who else?
Vin Diesel.
Yeah, Vin Diesel's another one. Vin Diesel's another one.
His characters tattooed on him.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. That's hardcore.
Wow. I got to think about my fourth one, so I'm going to let Dennis go and see if I can come up with a fourth one.
Okay.
But those would be my
All
three.
right, so I'm not going 4. I'm going with a full party of 6, including myself. So
wow.
Oh, dang.
5 people on mine.
There you go.
So Joe Manganello, I don't know how you pronounce his last name, but the guy you guys were saying. Basically, let's go play at his house. So
right. Absolutely.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'm gonna have him play a Goliath barbarian. I feel like that's right up his alley.
Yeah.
I mean, the man is the size of Shaq almost.
I know. Yeah, it's a big dude, who was also on True Blood and played a werewolf.
There you go.
Really, I did not know that.
Stephen Colbert is a gigantic.
Oh
nerd
my! Yes,
who
he
also
is.
Plays D&D.
Yeah.
And I would love for him to play a Drow Ranger.
Oh, okay. All right.
Or just regular elf. Whatever. The next guy also plays a good bit of D&D. Love him on most things. Thomas Middleditch.
Middleditch?
Yep.
That's a name.
From Silicon Valley.
That sounds like a D&D name already.
All right.
Thomas Middleditch.
He went on Dan Harmon's show where they do the animated D&D thing.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. Harmon Quest.
Yes, Harmon Quest. And Thomas
I love that.
guested on there one episode, and it was fantastic. So, because you guys probably haven't seen this episode, so the way they normally play on that show is the DM has all the dice. So nobody rolls except for the DM, because that's the way Dan Harmon wanted it to be.
Oh, yeah.
Thomas Middleditch comes in, and he goes, I brought my own dice. And Dan's like, do people normally roll their own dice? And the DM's like, yes, normally people roll their own dice. And Thomas Middleditch had a giant bag of dice that just dumps it onto the table. He's like, let's do this.
I remember that.
So I want him to play a tiefling bard.
Oh,
Ooh.
there you go.
Ooh, my wife plays a tiefling bard too, actually.
Oh, well, there you go. Patton Oswalt.
I'd
love to play a Dwoblin, which is a dwarvish goblin fighter. I feel like that would be great. And then lastly, he doesn't play D&D. I just love him, and I would love to see him be that angry at the table. Lewis Black as a dragonborn warlock or sorcerer, because he would just cast fireball on the party at all times.
Yeah, that's currently one of my players too.
Yeah.
They love doing that.
And
causing all kinds of splash damage for me to calculate.
I thought about my fourth. Peter Dinklage.
Okay, who is it?
Peter Dinklage.
Peter Dinklage is a good one.
As Kix the Goblin from a couple of seasons ago.
I love Kix the Goblin. I am Team Kix forever.
I'm telling you, man, y'all would have made a boatload of money if somebody had been able to do some artwork, a shirt with like Kix with an explosion behind him.
That's one of the patron arts that we have. We have Kix drawn.
Okay, I'll have to go check it out.
I have it. At some point, maybe I'll run and grab it because I have it in the house somewhere.
Oh, please do. I must see Kix in all his goblin-y glory.
Try and find it.
Kix was one of my favorites, man. And then hold on, and then this season, oh man, I love me some Perky this past season. Love me some Perky.
Everybody's Perkin. So the end of season song was Ground Control to Major Tom or whatever.
Right.
And Perkins was supposed to be Ground Control. But to Captain Todd. But unfortunately, I was leaving for a trip. Everything got too backed up, and then we ended up shelving or scrapping that and just Phil and Tristan sang it for 2 characters. But originally, Perkins was supposed to be one of the voices in that.
That's awesome.
Control to Captain Todd.
That's great.
Commencing countdown, engines on.
Yeah. So Peter would be my fourth. I can't think of a fifth because I don't think it's good off the top of my head. That's why I prefer to be a player, not a DM, because I can't do it.
I have a question.
Yes.
Do you picture Peter Dinklage just sitting in a dark room, with a single light over his head, drinking coffee and smoking, and just reading from a script?
Right. So, let me give you where that story comes from, Dennis. The original Destiny video game you know, in the video game Destiny, I don't know if you played it all. You know, each player has something called a ghost, which is like this little thing that kind of flies around with you and kind of gives you your extra lives, or whatever.
Yeah.
Peter
Dinklage, right?
Yeah, Peter Dinklage was the original voice on Destiny 1, and his voiceovers were so bad, they were horrifically bad, that
they were just continuously monotone, no matter what the scene. It was this exact same tone the entire time.
Yeah. They got
very
someone
little
else
inflection going up or down.
They got someone else to do the voice and re-recorded all of it. So I mean, his delivery, when you heard him deliver, the image that it gave you was Peter Dinklage sitting in a room by himself with like a fold-up card table and a metal chair, with a single bare bulb hanging over the table, an ashtray full of cigarettes, and a you know, old coffee pot, and him just sitting there with a script, just reading them off. That's what it sounded like. Yeah, it was bad. So
look, you're alive.
That's what Connor was referring to, because that's what I always say.
Come on, Guardian, we gotta go.
Yeah.
Wow. Let's go to the moon.
So anyway, okay. So,
but then they got someone else, and he did a much better job. Who was it, Dad? Do you know?
I don't remember. I remember it's a name, but I don't remember who it is. I don't remember off the top of my head. But
of course it's a name. Everyone has a name.
Know what I mean?
No one's called no one's called it or him.
Excuse me. Have you ever seen The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly? He doesn't have a name.
There you go.
That is true.
Known as the man with no name.
Man with no name.
That is true. I gotta concede to that. You're right. I was about to make some kind of joke about a creep who lives in the sewers, but you're right.
Okay. Guess what, Connor? Guess what, Dennis? It is time to talk some high cinema right now, right? Don't you think? It's time to talk some high cinema.
Let's talk some high cinema.
Let's jump into our next segment of Roll for Credits and talk about the 2016 movie, The Alchemist Cookbook.
Actually.
So, does anybody want to start with what the synopsis of this movie was?
I'll go.
Okay, go. What was the plot of this movie, Connor?
Good luck. Hey, good luck.
All right, so the plot. I can tell you the plot in literally 1 minute. There's this guy who lives in the woods. He's crazy, most likely schizophrenia or some kind of drug induced. Who's paranoia. He's some kind of chemist, and he lives in just this gas powered trailer in the middle of the forest. His name is Sean. And he lives with his cat Casper. He basically just does what he can out there, just trying to stay sane, live off the grid. And sometimes his cousin Cortez comes out and just brings him groceries, extra little stuff, and just that's his life. He lives there. He tries to stay sane. He hunts, he fishes, all kinds of stuff. But then one day Cortez forgets to bring his refill of crazy pills.
You're running out of your minute, by the way.
And then the rest of the movie is the slow descent of Sean going from basically a little crazy to talking in a fire to him pulling out one of his own teeth and then some kind of lesions and pus infested whatevers coming out of his body and hallucinations of his dead cousin talking to him in a demonic voice. Okay. And basically the entire movie goes downhill from there as apparently we're trying to watch his descent into talking to this god Belial.
But you
that's basically the movie.
You think it's an hallucination and not an actual demon stuff going on?
I honestly think it is hallucinations.
So, but see, and you actually make it sound like a psychological drama of someone losing their sanity as they go. I'm sitting here going, no, he was in the trailer in the woods from the get-go to communicate with that demon to get rich and make gold, because that's what he talked about from the get-go. And it just got worse as it went on, but it started that way. So
nothing happens. I counted for 12 minutes of this movie.
Yes.
The first 12 minutes, nothing happens other than watching him drink obvious Gatorade bottles without the labels on them and eating chips. You want to watch a guy eat chips for minutes on end? We've got a movie for you. It's called The Alchemist Cookbook. That's what happens. He just eats chips and drinks Gatorade and feeds his cat and then argues with his cousin, who comes over. There's like a 20-minute scene. This movie's only an hour 20. There's like a 20-minute scene where he brings the groceries, and then literally the dude asks where every single item in the bag is, to which the guy then tells him which bag it's in. And they have this freaking conversation over and over. Where's this one? It's in the brown bag. Where's this one? It's in the yellow bag. And like at one point when he says, "You forgot the eggs and the pills," I'm like, that dude was literally holding that bag earlier. That was the first bag he got out of the car.
Yeah.
What? Okay. And then he just randomly finds them. Like, you don't have that big a house anyways. Where did you put the eggs and pills? Like, where did you leave them? And then we don't know what he's cooking up in there. Like, he just has vials of battery acid and blood or whatever. I
don't know.
We don't know if it has anything to do with the demon stuff. It doesn't seem like it. It seems like it's a totally separate thing. But again, no explanation. I think he's on the run because it sounds like he's on the run from somebody. Yeah. But again, they don't really tell you anything.
No.
So,
we don't even find out his name for their first 15 minutes of the movie.
But we don't know what the pills were for.
Yeah.
Like, they could have been for like schizophrenia or something like that. Or not.
It could have been for his leg too. He had a busted up leg.
Could have been pain pills.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a weird scene where he's like trying to stab a possum, but doesn't, and then later does stab the possum. Like, and it like all the scenes in the movie. The movie's only an hour and 20 minutes. There are Disney movies that are long. Dumbo is about as long as this movie, the original Dumbo. And this movie has scenes that feel like they go on forever, but nothing happens.
Right. Right. It's an
Nothing
hour.
happens.
It's an hour and 20-minute movie. And Connor, last week, for last week's episode, we watched
and it's a lot better.
We watched a 3-hour Bollywood movie, a Bollywood Western movie.
Bollywood's fantastic.
And
okay?
we
I
had a blast watching it. This hour and 22-minute movie felt like it was 4 hours long.
A 3-hour-long Bollywood movie set in some kind of Indian version of the Old West.
It's fine.
Yeah,
it already sounds way better.
It was ridiculous.
Question though, question: did they randomly switch to English for no apparent reason?
Yes.
And switch back.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a Bollywood thing.
Yes, they do.
Every Bollywood movie I've seen does that. They'll be talking, and then all of a sudden, for one sentence, switch to English, and then switch it right back. And no idea why. Whatever. But anyways, then the other weird thing was, so when he would go to the lake and toss rocks into the lake to say a sentence, no explanation as to why that is.
Nope.
Okay. And then randomly he'll hear like a monster in the distance, I guess.
Yep.
No explanation on that. But he's trying to summon Bilal. Later on, Bilal eats or possesses his cousin, I guess.
Yeah.
And then he buries the cousin, and then he pulls out a tooth. Then he sort of kind of becomes Bilal. I was like, I don't understand what's going on or what the point of anything is. And like his acting was really bad because you could tell he was just trying to be crazy. Like he would try and be twitchy. I'm like, okay, that's how you would fake being twitchy.
Right.
That's not how an actual twitchy person would look.
Right.
Or he would just randomly be sitting there staring just off from the camera, and then it would sit there for like 30 seconds, and then blah, blah, blah. That's it.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Why? Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, I sat there, and like you said, nothing happened for the first 12 minutes, and I counted too. There was one line in dialogue in the first 13 minutes, and he was talking to his cat, and you didn't really get any dialogue till his cousin shows up, and those were actually
just great. It was great writing with him and his cousin.
Oh yeah,
it was so pure.
Who talks this way?
It was almost Shakespearean.
Although
I thought it was a Kenneth Branagh movie for a little bit there because it was so poetic.
It was so well written. I know.
Yeah.
I will say though that my favorite scene in the whole movie was his cousin eating the cat food.
That scene went on for like 10 minutes.
It did.
But
at least it made me laugh.
Eating this cat food, and it keeps like going and go. Oh, here's some mixtapes. Let me explain what each one of these 3 mixtapes is. Okay, go back to this. Then he puts it in his mouth and chews it for a long time, and then we think maybe that's the end of the gag. No, they just keep going. Then he grabs a bigger chunk. I'm like, why? Why?
At least
I
When
that part made me-
Cortez started to vomit, hid my wife in the other room, who had her headphones on came out and said, "Connor, are you okay? I hear gagging," and I'm like, "No, it's the movie." And she's like, "Sorry, we're working in the nursing home industry. I've learned how to pick up someone getting sick from 3 miles away," and I'm like, "Okay, did not need to know that." That's a weird skill.
Yeah, it was one of those movies where okay, you keep expecting something's going to happen and it just never does. And then, when you get to the very end of the movie and he does what he does and he goes into the lake to supposedly drown himself and
That's what
whatever.
I thought he was going to do.
And then
Again, they don't
full of
explain
rocks,
the lake at all.
but actually
I don't get it.
no. And and Connor and I were talking about this
And
before.
and then for like 3 minutes, it just gets in a slow zoom to
feel like if
until
somebody were to
suddenly
edit this
he pops
movie-
up, normal as normal can be.
Yeah, I feel like if someone were to actually edit this movie, like edit it the way that it ought to be edited, it's a 15-minute movie.
Oh yeah, easy. It's a short film.
Yeah.
It's a short film. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But then the other,
yeah.
so this movie does something that drives me insane about most horror movies is that they shoot it to where it's so dark that unless you are sitting in a room that is also pitch black, you can't see what's going on. I literally had to sit this close to the TV to figure out that his cousin was like demonic or something like that.
Yeah.
And then when there was a monster later on with like a branch arm or something,
Yeah.
I had to get real close to it because I'm like, I can't see what's on the screen.
Yep. So, I mean, and
That's what I hate about these movies. These almost independently made horror movies. They try to scare us with these far off shots of the monster when in reality we know they could barely make the monster look like a monster. So they had to make those far off shots just to try and add some sort of suspense. So I could tell it. I mean, I am very easily scared. That's why I never watch horror movies. But with this movie, I didn't feel anything.
but
I was not on the edge of my. Did not cover my eyes. Did not cover my ears.
But Connor,
I'm like, okay.
do you remember though when we rolled for this movie last week? Because the way we do is we'll roll for the service that we're going to use. Then we roll for the genre. Then we roll for just a movie within that genre to just get something at random. This movie was in the comedy genre.
It was like
It was
that. Why would this thing be in a comedy?
it was
Wasn't
in the
even so like Suburban Sasquatch. You've seen that, right, Sean?
I've seen a bit of it. Yeah.
Okay, that I would call a comedy.
I haven't.
Because
Right.
it's so bad it's hilarious.
Yeah.
This is just boring.
Yeah.
It's not so bad it's hilarious. It's just boring.
Yeah.
Nothing happens.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't even call it a comedy in that sense.
No.
Because that's the only way I could even interpret it so
Right.
bad that it's funny.
Yeah.
Because it's just not. Just nothing happens.
No. I mean, it's
boring.
To me, the whole thing felt like, okay, this is a student in film school doing a movie as a project, and they're learning script development, they're learning plot development.
That's
and
exactly what I was
And they have
saying.
no clue what they're doing, and the professor's going to go, "You suck," at the end of it, because it felt like a student film that they didn't know what they were doing.
If it were a
he's just gonna
student
pause
film-
it, go like this, and look at him. You
If
suck.
it's a student film, I would say it's not
Just like
that
look at
bad for a student film. But the
Right.
problem is, it's like if this was just done in a college class, okay, cool, it's fine. It's pretty good for that,
Yeah.
but not for like a movie on Hulu for like regular people to watch,
Right.
like normal human consumption. Then
Yeah.
no, not so much.
Yeah, exactly.
Was there anything?
Oh,
yes, Connor.
here's-
What? Go ahead. You froze on
Huh?
me. So you froze on me. You started asking a question.
I was just gonna say, I know of a movie that's so bad it's funny. Oh, what? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
I was gonna say, hey, that I knew of a movie so bad it's funny, and that people were smart to not put it on any kind of streaming service. Dennis, have you ever heard of a movie called The Greasy Strangler?
No, I don't know this one.
Okay. it's a horrid B-list movie. A guy who is so crazy. He eats everything in grease, and then also basically swims through a vat of kitchen grease, and then goes out as a demonic monster and strangles people. That's the whole plot of the movie.
It just sounds like Phil's autobiography.
It very well could be. It's that bad. For some reason, my wife and her friends love this movie to death, and so one time I watched it with her. Rented it on YouTube. That's the only place you can find this movie, by the way, on YouTube. It's not on any streaming service anywhere else, and they were smart to keep it that way.
Yeah,
it was like I sat there for almost 2 hours trying to watch this movie, as it was disgusting. It was weird. It was choreographed badly. It was filmed badly, and she is laughing her butt off, and I'm just sitting here being like, what in the actual F-bomb? What? Just like I could not understand this movie whatsoever.
So
but then eventually I realized it is so bad that it's funny. It's one of those things.
Yeah, I mean, we've had those movies before that we've watched. So was there anything
like Gora?
Yeah, Gora. Anything redeemable, anything that you enjoyed about this movie at all?
Cat was cute.
The cat was cute.
That's the only redeemable quality. Oh,
Not
somehow the cat was the demon as well?
Well, we don't know, but that was kind of weird,
still
right?
Can't figure that
implied,
out.
I think.
It's implied.
Well, I think the demon just possessed the cat at the end.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Eh.
But no, not really. I mean, you can always tell the really cheap movies because they shoot them in the woods, and this one was shot in a park. It wasn't even shot in the woods.
Yeah.
It was like, because if you look afterwards, the credits are like, it's in Michigan somewhere.
Yeah.
But it's literally a park. So they just shot the whole thing in some park next to some water. And that's just such a boring setting anyways. It's like every horror movie, it has like $2 to spend. They shoot it in the woods because they don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah.
Like the characters were not interesting, or the dialogue was terrible. There's no action.
No.
There's no comedy. I mean, the Gatorade looked tasty, I guess.
The closest thing was when Sean found Cortez's car all busted up, and so someone had carved into a tree with a tooth in it saying "Pay up." That's the closest thing we saw to action.
Yeah.
Oh no! Wait. I take that back. The closest thing we saw to action was Sean hesitantly and slowing, stabbing the possum through the cage,
Which was clearly a puppet.
That's the closest thing to action.
I mean, because a real possum would not just sit there as you're putting a knife in the cage.
Oh, yeah,
and
clearly a
kind
puppet.
of go,
There was some.
I was like, how long's he had this possum?
right?
It's there was some dude in the crawl space of that trailer suffocating to death. And the director just says, "Barely move your hand." Really make it look like he's scared, but also tentative and comfortable. Just really do that while you're dirty underneath this crawl space. And he's like, okay, and he's just like doing this, just trying to move his hand and trying to lick a fake knife. It's like that's what I see.
So I think what we're all hearing is that we all thought it was really bad and there was nothing redeemable about the movie at all, right? But we only
0
wasted
out of 5.
we only wasted
2 thumbs down.
And this is what happens, Dennis, when we
In the possum's case, 4 thumbs down.
when we pick movies at random like this. Sometimes we get fantastic movies that are really cool that I never would have watched, like the Bollywood movie. We saw a movie one time called Radius, where all of a sudden this man, he's in a car accident, and when he wakes up,
and this woman,
yeah, but he finds her later. But he wakes up from a car accident, and whenever he gets near anybody, they die. It's like he's got a radius around
any living thing,
a radius of death around him, and he doesn't know where it comes from. And then he meets a woman, and she's got the same problem. And so they're trying to do everything they can not to kill people by not letting people.
Whenever they're together, people don't die.
Right. Yeah. So we find some interesting ones like that.
It's a very interesting concept.
Yeah. But then sometimes we get the Alchemist Cookbook too. So
Dad, what about that one Amazon movie? He set in like I think the 30s. That was this alien thing, right?
Dude,
And
you have to be more specific because we've
small
watched some
town,
really weird
ones. Small town.
Yes.
Small town on
The Vast of Night.
radio show thing.
The Vast of Night. Have you seen that one, Dennis?
The Vast of Night.
No.
Oh my goodness! It is
worth watching.
Such a good movie. It is such a good movie.
Really?
It's called The Vast. It's on Amazon, and it's set in the 50s, and all of a sudden aliens, kind of start showing up, and the two main characters are a little high school girl who's like the little operator lady. She does the switching out, and then a guy like who's like 20, and he's like the local radio DJ,
radio show host guy.
And they're investigating what's going on. And there are some one-shot scenes in this movie that they use with a drone. I've never seen anything like it. They'll start in town, take the drone shot all the way through town, across a field, into the school gym during a basketball game, through the basketball game, back up out the window. I mean, it's some of the camera work is fantastic. So that's a really good one. The Vast of Night.
It is so smooth. You would not expect it's from a drone just by how smooth and calm this thing flies. It's amazing.
And the
Vast of Night, definitely worth a watch.
Yeah, and the dialogue it kind of riffs like a 50s DJ. How they would have that kind of riff lingo. So the dialogue is quick like that through the whole movie. It's just really good. So that one we definitely recommend. So,
I would like to point out this week's movie was so bad. We're actually talking about past movies to compare how bad it is.
Right, right. Well, because we're trying to find something redeemable about the evening.
Say something.
So how about we pick the next movie?
Oh man.
So how about we do that? All right. So.
Oh yeah, let's do it. Let's do that.
All right, so what I'll do is I'll roll a 20-sided dice. I didn't put HBO Max in there this week. I forgot to add it to our list. So typically we roll dice and it falls in a category of either Hulu or Amazon or Netflix.
Sure. Or Netflix.
And then we do a 10-sided dice.
Sorry, next week we'll add Hulu.
Yeah, and
we'll add HBO. Sorry.
And then we roll a 10-sided die to kind of pick the genre, and then I'll roll a D100 to pick something from the list of that genre. And then we just kind of go with that. All right. So we're going to roll, and I rolled a 4.
Can I ask?
Yes.
Something.
Sure. Go ahead.
Can I roll the dice?
Oh, sure. What's up?
Can I choose?
Oh, yeah. Go ahead, man.
What sided dice is the first one going with?
20-sided die.
First one's a 20. Okay.
Yep.
Rolled a 5.
All right. So that should be Amazon.
Okay.
And then we do a 10-sided die to determine the genre of movie.
Use one of my death die that I typically take limbs with. 5 again.
Nice.
All right. Let me see.
Okay, 5. So what genre is that?
Yeah, I'm trying to pull that up. Okay, so that would be on Amazon. A 5 would be a comedy, and then a D100.
Ooh, finally
D100.
Something good.
Yeah, I'll use the botched death dice. 32.
Nice. All right, so let me pull
32. This is riveting radio.
Okay. All right, so I got my list now, so let me find the 30-second movie in the comedies. I'll be right back.
You're just trying to find it? Come on, Dad. You're embarrassing me in front of Dennis. I want to be his friend after this, and you're ruining it for me.
We're already friends. You come to all the bot shows. Come on now.
Okay, so apparently we're going to continue with a little bit of a horror comedy theme because we're going to watch George A. Romero's Survival of the Dead.
Oh.
Survival of the Dead.
So on an island off the coast of North America, local residents simultaneously fight the zombie epidemic while hoping for a cure to return their undead relatives back to their human state. The master George A. Romero returns with a new entry in the greatest horror series of all time, combining black humor with his trademark zombie gore and apocalyptic vision. It's a must-see for horror fans. So there you go.
Hey,
horror comedy.
What do you want to guess it has on Rotten Tomatoes?
Oh God,
75%.
What do you do you have the rating, Dennis?
Let's go. I got them both up. Let's go with the critics score. What do we think the critics said about this movie?
I'm going to say a 5 out of 10.
Okay. Well, it's out of 100.
I'm going to say
Oh, out of 100. Okay.
Oh.
So 50 out of 100. Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to say 65.
Okay. They gave it a 30.
Oh God.
Oh God.
So
We were
audience-
way off.
So audience score, it is a different number. So what do you think the audience score is? If the critic score was a 30, what do you think the audience score is?
A 20.
A
Nailed it.
70. Really, a 20?
Give it
Wow.
Yep. 20 on the dot.
So, as much as you hated the Alchemist Cookbook, you can thank us for not having you on next week.
You know what? I bet even as garbage as that movie's going to be, something happens. Something happens.
Right.
People talk to each other, you know? Things
Right.
occur.
Yeah.
Zombies happen at least.
right.
Zombies are a thing.
That's always
Yeah.
a good go-to.
Yeah.
That'll
The
be on
last
screen.
zombie movie we watched was amazing. Train to Busan. That was a really good one.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
a fantastic
That's a
one.
fantastic-
Yeah, we watched that on Botched Films once.
But the one we watched before that, do you remember the one we watched before that, Connor? I don't remember the name of it, but it was
No, I don't.
But it was a zombie.
Train to Busan was that good.
Yeah, it was a zombie Christmas musical. Anna versus the Apocalypse. That's what it was. A zombie Christmas musical.
Annabeth in the
Anna
Apocalypse.
and the Apocalypse.
A
Anna and the
zombie
Apocalypse.
Christmas musical.
Yeah. So
Think
not one of our better ones.
Think The Grinch meets Walking Dead, and that's basically what this movie was.
Okay.
Meets Glee.
Okay.
Meets Glee. You got to throw Glee in there too.
Meets
I
Glee,
mean, that
yes.
sounds way more entertaining than what we watched. Sounds
I would
way
agree.
more entertaining.
I would agree with that.
Yes,
I would agree with that.
definitely. Way
Because
more entertaining.
as you said, Dennis, stuff happened.
Something happens.
Something happened.
There are
right?
people.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway. Okay. Well, that's all I got. I don't have anything else. Connor, you got anything
There's
else?
more than one person, his cousin and his cat.
Okay. Do you got anything you want? Any parting shots,
Anyway.
Connor? No. I guess
No,
not.
I'm good.
Okay, Dennis. Anything?
good.
Anyone last plugs for the comic or botched or anything that's going on? Where can everybody find you?
The comic, hiveheadstudios.com for the Kickstarter. Like I said, wraps up Sunday morning, 8:58 a.m. I believe.
Okay.
So get in before that. You can also check it out, patreon.com/hiveheadstudios if you want to see all the behind the scenes stuff as soon as the Kickstarter ends and we start to roll out, stories from the Kickstarter and stories for the next, book and all that stuff. You can find all my social media stuff at World's Most Okayest DM, except for Twitter because it's too many characters. So it's World's Okayest DM. Botched, a D&D podcast, is on all your podcatchers. You can also watch us live Monday nights when we do like goofy movies or community games at twitch.tv/botchedpodcast. And on Tuesdays, typically, we play at 6:30 p.m.
Nice.
Eastern Standard Time. Same thing, twitch.tv/botchedpodcast.
Cool.
Oh, patreon.com/botchedpodcast too.
Nice.
So,
Nice.
I mean, we do this every Friday night at 8:00. I throw it up on all the podcatchers. I often will hop on and do Xbox streaming after this, though.
I love that term, podcatchers.
Yeah, well, that's what they are. Although tonight I really just want to sit on my couch and just be alone because it's been a week. So I'm probably not going to stream tonight, but
For
usually
some
I'm
reason,
streaming at 10 o'clock on
I
Friday
think
nights.
of Pod People. Hold on, from that movie.
There
Oh,
you go.
the Invasion of the Body
Invasion-
Snatchers.
Body Snatchers. There you go. That's right.
Exactly. Podcatchers.
There you-
Who
yes.
catch your pod?
Donald Sutherland, yes. So, you can find me at Headgamer on all the social media stuff. You can find Connor at QuillMiester on all the social media stuff. And we're here every Friday night, 8:00. So, thanks for everybody that came in and hung out with us for a while. Dennis,
We're
thanks so
here
much.
to make you laugh.
Dennis, thanks so much for hanging
Well,
out with
I'm
us.
here to
and
make you
talking-
laugh. I don't know what my dad's doing.
So, can I finish my sentence now? This is-
I finish?
Yes, you can. I'm sorry.
Can't
I
finish.
just had to take one last shot. That's like one last
So-
shot at that skunk beard face.
thanks, Dennis, for coming and hanging out with us.
Thanks for having me.
And
Thanks, dude. Really,
you guys know that you can
anytime.
find us anywhere. You can find Dennis anywhere that we've talked about. We would love to have y'all join us again next week, and join the Botch guys when they're on as well. So that's all I've got. That's all we've got for tonight. So thanks for listening, and come see us next week. And always remember, Connor.
stay nerdy, my friends.
Oh my goodness. Production values. It's not like we've not done this for 60-something episodes.
Hey, we still mess up stuff all the time, and we're almost at 300 episodes.
That's true. That's true. Bye, everybody.